This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everyone. This is Ainsley Coupler. I'm Director of Products with the USGA, and I am joined by Joe Cavallo, who's our Product Manager for the Centralized Computation Engine in WHS, along with Tournament Management, and also Lisa Gooley, who is our Product Manager and Designer for Admin Portal. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. First of all, if someone can just confirm that they can hear my voice and see my screen.
Yep, we can see you.
Okay, great. If you're not talking during the presentation, please keep yourself muted. We are recording this so we can share it with others and you can make use of it for future training as well. We do want to make this session as interactive as possible, so we'll be pausing throughout to provide the opportunity to ask any questions or provide any feedback. You can also type your questions as we're going through into the chat window. Joe's going to be monitoring those and asking them along the way as we're going through the presentation. So with that, we'll jump in. So today's session is Admin Portal Overview for Club Admins. So we'll be logging into the Admin Portal and really doing a screen-by-screen walkthrough of tasks you would perform as a club administrator. So we'll start today's meeting with just a quick overview of the admin portal and what we're going to cover. We'll then move into the demonstration looking at club and golfer management tasks. And lastly, we'll wrap up with an opportunity to ask any questions, provide any feedback, or highlight anything that you think we should be including in the roadmap for future enhancements. So just really quick, what is Admin Portal? So from your perspective, Admin Portal is going to be your new replacement for GHP. It's a new streamlined interface to make it easier and more efficient for you to perform the commonly performed tasks around handicap administration, score posting, and golfer management. We've really tried to centralize a lot of the functions within one interface so you don't have to navigate to different areas. We took a thoughtful approach from a user experience standpoint and really tried to create more of a streamlined and modern interface, giving you the data that you need within one screen. And we've looked at all the tasks that you perform commonly on a day-to-day basis to see how we can further streamline those workflows, reduce clicks, show more data within one screen, again, so you don't have to navigate to multiple areas. So we're really just trying to make it as efficient as possible for you to perform your day-to-day tasks. For today's presentation, we're going to start with really just a high-level overview around navigating the portal. We'll then look at club management tasks, so how you would view your club information and your account information. We'll touch on the golfer roster and golfer groups. We'll then go into an individual golfer's record, and we'll look at how we can view their information, post a score, perform any score maintenance tasks. So if you need to edit a score or delete a score, look at handicap management. We'll walk through the various add golfer flows. And lastly, we'll close with rapid score entry. So with that, I'm going to jump into the admin portal and we'll get started with the demonstration. So to start, I'm currently in my Gmail account. When you first get access to the admin portal, you'll receive a notification from the GIN team asking you to create a password to set up your account and access the portal. So to do so, you would simply click the link that says Create Password. You'll be asked to enter a new password for your account. Click Set Password, and then you'll be prompted to log into the portal. On logging in your first time, we'll generate the terms of service and present them to you. You'll need to accept the terms of service before logging into the portal. So here are our terms of service. I will agree to move forward. So when logging into the admin portal as a club administrator, you'll immediately be directed to the Manage screen for the club that you are logging in as. If you're managing multiple clubs, so perhaps you have a separate men's and women's club that you have credentials for, on logging in, you'll be asked to select which club you wish to manage, and then you'll be directed to the appropriate roster based on the club that you select. At the top of the page are our primary navigation items. So most of our demonstration today will be within this Manage section. We'll also touch on rapid score entry. There is a separate dedicated webinar for reports if you wish to go through that in more detail. We're not going to touch on any of the reports today. We have a Tools and Resources section, which essentially will give you access to any user guides or knowledge base articles as they're made available. We have a quick link just to log out of the portal. And then in the upper right-hand corner here, we have our global search. So this is a persistent search feature which will be made available to you within every single page of the admin portal. You have the ability to search for golfers using their name, GIN number, or email address. You can also search for a club or association if you wish to view their contact information. Alongside the search window, you'll see here, this is the user I'm logged in as. Within that, we have the option to log out, or if you're one of those administrators I mentioned that has multiple accounts, you can toggle between your accounts by clicking a change account option, which would be made available there. So quickly, just to look at global search. If you wanted to search for a golfer, again, you can search for them using a partial name match, GIN number, or email address. I'm picking on Joe because he's sitting right in front of me. So we did a search on Cavallo. It pulled up all possible matches. You can see here that most of these searches that were returned are outside of my network, meaning I don't have access to them. They're not part of my club or my association. We are masking and providing more of a public view if a golfer is not a member of your network, but you do have access to click into them if you needed to post a score or view any revision scores. If a golfer is yours, you'd be able to click in. We'll go through that in more detail. You'll have full visibility to perform any administrative tasks on them. Also, if a club is within your network, you'd be able to drill into the club from the search view. So I'm going to jump back to the Manage tab so we can start looking at our club. So I'm logged in right now as a test club. If I click on the Account tab, this will be all information pertaining to my club profile. So I'm in the Account tab with the primary section selected. At the top of the page, you can see basic information for my club. So this is information that was migrated across from GHP, or in some cases, such as club number, we've generated new club numbers in the system. As a club administrator, when you get access to the portal, we ask you to make sure you're verifying this information for accuracy. While you don't have the ability to update it within the portal, your association can edit any of these fields. So please reach out to them if anything seems to be incorrect and needs to be amended. Below basic information are addresses. So the new portal has the ability to save 3 separate address types and contact types, that being a primary, a mailing, So here you can see I have 3 different addresses saved: my primary, my mailing, and billing address. You can also assign different contacts for each of those address types. So to add or edit an address, simply click the action button. So in this case, edit to the right of the contact. It will open up a window where I can modify any of my address details or assign a contact. It's important to note that a contact does not need to be a user in the system. So if you have someone within an accounting team or something like that that's handling any of your finances, you can add them as a billing contact, and they don't need an actual login to the portal to get any notifications. So in this case, I actually want to update my mailing address to be the same as my primary address. So I'm going to just click this button here that says same as primary. As you can see, it pulled across the information and pre-populated my primary address in that field. But I do need to make a change and add a different mailing address contact. So here I've updated my contact information, and by saving those changes, you can see that they've been applied. At the bottom of the primary section, you have the ability to upload your club logo. So to do so, you can either drag and drop an image file directly into this upload zone, so this gray area here, or click the green button to choose a logo from your computer. So here's my club logo. This logo will be used for our template reports, so it will be displayed on any of the reports that you generate for your club. If you needed to change your logo, you can simply click the X in the upper right-hand corner to remove it and upload a new one. Below the primary tab, we're going to click to Home Courses and Kiosk Setup. So I'm not going to go through this in detail, as there is a dedicated training session around how to create and manage your kiosks. But just to draw attention to this section, you do have the ability to add any home courses. We will be migrating these across from GHP, but if you need to add any additional courses or make any changes in the future, you can do so by simply clicking Add Home Course here. You also have the ability to edit any home courses or defaultees, or remove them by clicking the Edit or Remove button. Below home courses and defaultees, there's also the ability to add a kiosk. Again, we have a dedicated training session where we'll walk through that step by step. Below home courses and kiosk setup, there's a tab for membership types. So for clubs, associations will apply membership types to the club. You then have visibility into what membership types are available for your club, along with the code, any description that was added, the USGA membership type that it's associated with, so if it's a junior or a standard member, and then the bill rate for that code. We'll show you within the golfer profile as well as the roster how you can add those to golfer accounts. Lastly, and probably most important within the club section as we move into launch, is how you can create additional admins for your account. So once you gain access to the admin portal, you'll be asked to create your password as we went through, set up your own account. You can create additional accounts for anyone within your club. So to add a user, you can simply click Add User, enter an email address here. When you enter an email address, we're actually going to run a search to see if there's any users in the system with that same email address. If so, you'll just be presented with an option to select if you want to add them as a full administrator or a read-only administrator to your account. At that time, they would receive a notification informing them that they have updated permissions and access. If you are creating a new user in the system, you'll be presented with this form here. So I can go ahead, create my new user, enter in their contact information, select a role. So again, we have two different types of access here. You can be a full club administrator, meaning you have read and write access to anything that pertains to your club, or admin read only, perhaps if you wanted someone just to have access to the data for oversight purposes, but you didn't want them to be able to perform any actions. You can create them as an admin read only. So I'll create a full administrator. I want to keep them as an active user, so I will keep the active checkbox ticked and click Save to create that user. Once a new user is created, they will receive an email asking them to complete their password, to complete their account setup rather, by setting a password. I'm going to pause right there. Are there any questions?
Yeah, a question came in around, I guess it's around golfers and having to have an email. So this club has older club members who do not use or own a computer, so they don't have email. Can they still use the system?
So for an actual user of the system, so an administrator of Admin Portal, they will need to have an email address.
But if they're just a member posting scores?
If they're just a member posting scores, we will be requesting an email address if you're adding a new user, but existing users do not need email addresses. However, without an email address as we move forward, they won't be able to log into gin.com or our mobile app. So they'll be able to post using the kiosk in the future, as well as any club pros can post for them using Admin Portal.
And then a question regarding the role of read-only. Will they be able to run and use reporting?
I have to confirm on that one.
Okay.
I believe they will, but I will confirm on that one.
Okay.
Okay, so if there's not any other questions on the club section, I'm going to move over to the golfer roster. Actually, first we'll jump into golfer groups. So golfer groups are a way for you to easily segment and manage your roster if you want to maybe sort by different demographic information, or maybe create groups based on golfers that play together. We've also used it as a loose replacement for print groups and club services as they exist today. So as part of the data migration from GHP to the new system, any of your services were migrated across as individual groups, as well as your print groups. So you would see those in the golfer group drop-down day one. To create additional groups, you can simply click Add Groups from the Golfer Group tab in the upper right-hand corner. Create a name for your group and submit to create that group. So I've selected my newly created group from the pick list. You can see alongside the group name, I have the ability to edit the group name if I need to make any changes, or to delete that group. Below the group name are our filters. So within the gray box, and you'll see this theme carried across a lot of the pages that we're going to review today. Within the gray box, you have the ability to narrow down your golf population, so you can then add those golfers to the group. So I'm going to actually filter by membership status. We're going to use membership code here to kind of narrow down that population. I want to add all active golfers with an R membership type to my test golfer group. So you can either select them individually or click the checkbox in the upper right-hand corner to select all. Once they're selected, click the right-facing arrow to move them into your test golfer group, and click Save Group to apply those changes. If you wanted to remove someone from the group, again, you can simply click a name, click the left-facing arrow to remove them from the group, and click Save Group to apply those changes. Once a golfer group is created, it is available on your roster view as a filter. So if you don't want to go through and manually set a whole bunch of different filters, again, this is an easy way for you to more effectively manage your roster. It is important to note that golfer groups are all manually managed. So when you are creating a new golfer, or if you're changing any information associated with that golfer's profile that would make them a candidate for a group, you'll have to manually add them to the group. We have received a lot of feedback around how we could potentially automate that and make it easier, maybe applying rules-based logic or somehow automating that going forward to make it easier to manage. So that is something that's on our roadmap for next year, but it will not be available for launch. Any questions on golfer groups?
Will you be able to run reports by golfer group?
I believe groups are available on reports from the golfer standpoint.
I agree.
Okay, next we'll move into our roster view. So again, when you log into your portal as a club admin, you'll see your roster view by default. That's going to be your home page. So at the top of the screen, again, you have your filters in the gray box. So this will help you narrow down your population, find any of the golfers that you're looking for. So here we have the ability to search by golfer's name. This is a contains function, so it's a partial match. So if you type any characters, it will automatically start to narrow down your roster based on what you key in. You also have the ability to filter by membership status, if the golfer's a merged record, membership code, if you're doing any membership code cleanups or roster cleanups, their gender, or the golfer group that we just created. At the top of the screen, you have the ability to add a golfer. So in the upper right-hand corner, you can click Add Golfer. It will present a window where you can add any new golfers to your roster. So you have two different options here. The first is the ability to search for an existing golfer. You can search by either GIN number or email address. If you don't have the golfer's information, you can also do a lookup by last name and state. So here I'm going to search by a GIN number. You have the ability then, once you find that existing golfer, to select a membership code and click Add Golfer to add them to your golfer roster. If you wish to add a new golfer, simply click Add New Golfer. Again, select a membership code for them. Populate any required fields. Birthday is required if the golfer is going to be assigned to a junior membership type. Email is required for any standard golfers. If you're creating an account for a minor golfer, so a golfer that is under 13 years of age, the email field will be disabled as we cannot collect emails for minors as per COPA laws. So we'll enter any relevant information for that golfer and simply click Add Golfer to create that golfer and add them to your roster. On adding the golfer, you would have the ability then to click Continue to Setup if you want to modify anything on their profile or to add another golfer.
So, Ainsley, a few questions came through.
Sure.
Just to clarify that original question around read-only and being able to run reports, I think we just heard back, and yes, read-only users will be able to run reports. The standard 12 or 15 reports, that'll be part of what we refer to as our standard reports. So yes.
Okay, so those are our template reports.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
And then we had, so again, along the lines of running reports, what will be the advantages of running reports versus just using this real-time data that's that you could export to Excel and whatnot? And I think the answer to that is there'll be more data available to the user inside of reports.
100%, and more access if you need any historical data.
Right. Will we lose inactivated golfers that are currently in our GHP system?
So that's a great question. We are going to be migrating across inactivated golfers. We'll also be pulling across if you have any future inactivate dates or activate dates that have not yet been applied. Those will be migrated across into the new system as well, so you don't lose that.
Great. And the searchability on the top around being able to search golfers, is that a worldwide or a system level search?
That is a system level search, so it's domestic U.S.
And our 15
And yes,
international
that's a
association.
good point. So anyone within the GIN system or domestically.
Is email required to add a new golfer?
Email is required to add a new golfer, yes.
And then a common question that we see quite a bit is long-time inactive golfers, so long-term, whether they're deceased or no longer ever going to be a member of that club, can they remove them from the roster?
I think this is probably one of the most popular questions we've gotten on all of the sessions. So from a USGA standpoint, day one, we will have the ability to archive golfers. This is one of the top things on our list to make available to other levels. So we are planning to provide the ability to archive golfers. So day one, just to reiterate, it will just be USGA access. Also, any golfers that are merged and were part of a losing merged record would be archived. So you may see some on your roster with an archive status, but typically those would be part of the merge process as we're cleaning up across the system.
Yep. So let's just clarify the requirement of email. There seems to be a couple of questions on it, and I guess one would be new golfers, and then compared to the older membership who are existing members of the club now in GHP who do not have email addresses.
So if someone doesn't have an email address in the current system, we're not going to require it, but we are going to prompt for it when you are making a change to their profile. Any new golfer that's created, we will be requiring an email address. I would say if the golfer truly does not have an email, it would be up to you as a club to see how you want to be able to support them. So I don't know if it's something that maybe you'd want a club email added or something like that in that circumstance, but we are asking for an email address going forward.
Okay, and what about the case where we have shared email addresses between two different golfers within the roster, husband, wife?
So that's a really good point. As part of migration, we are going to be cleaning up and removing any duplicate email addresses. So we are working with associations to provide a list of anyone that does have a duplicate or missing email address so we can start that cleanup process. So if you have not heard from your association yet, you probably will soon. There are some workarounds, but they won't work in all of the different email clients. So you can see what I'm testing here. I'm actually adding a plus sign and a 1 or a plus sign and a number to my profile. You can use that as a workaround, but it's not a guarantee that the individual would actually receive all of the emails. So we know that it works if you're getting an email to Gmail, for instance, but they don't always come through to Outlook, for instance. So there are some creative workarounds that you can do on that front.
And then a couple of people raised the concern about people just not wanting to share their email, and obviously I think we understand that. That's why we've kept the kiosk as a method for square
Correct, yes.
posting for those who don't want to provide an email address.
All right, so looking at the roster again.
You want to continue on this email topic? There's a few more. I mean, it's really pretty much the same questions. As far as the golfer who doesn't currently have an email address, going forward, if we need to edit or adjust their profile, you will be required to put in an email address for them. Some of those, the mechanisms that you could use are you could create an email address for them. You can give them a club email address, however you want to work it. But
They get creative on that front if you need to.
Yep. Will they need to verify the email?
So when we initially launch, there will not be a verification process in place. We are planning to add a verification process, call it early to mid 2020, which will be required if you want to create a new digital profile, which you can use to log into gin.com or the mobile app. For launch, you'll be able to continue to access those properties using the GIN number and last name as you do today.
We understand the concern about husband and wives wanting to share an email address. These are all things that we've run through many times, but as systems progress, and it's not just our system, but all systems progress, email addresses becoming an individually populated field, so you may ask that one of them get a temporary email. We seem to have taken a bunch of, okay.
All right, so with that, we'll jump back into the roster view. So as I mentioned at the top of the page, we have the ability to narrow down your roster population using the filters. Below that, we have a count of golfers based on the filters that you have applied. So here you can see I have 13 active golfers in my club based on the filters that are applied in the gray box. If you need additional real estate, so if you want to see more golfers within that screen, you can click Hide Filters to remove the filters from view, or again, show the filters if you want to see them as you're interacting with it. So our action buttons at the top of the page. The first one that you see is Export to Excel. So this is a way for you to easily export information for an individual golfer, a group of golfers, or your filtered list. So on clicking Export to Excel, you have the option to export your filtered list, which in this case would be this filter count here. So it would be the 13 active golfers. Or you have the option to export a selected population of golfers. So if I selected any golfers by clicking the checkbox next to their name, I can export the list just for those golfers. So since I haven't selected any individual golfers, that option's not available, so I'm going to export my filtered list. So click Submit to generate that file. It's going to ask me where I want to save that file on my computer. You can see here it creates a CSV file for me, and by opening that, I can see the golfer information. And this is great. I mean, if you need to just generate a quick report to use for management purposes, maybe upload to another system, however you're handling maybe marketing communications or anything like that, it gives you the flexibility to easily pull down that list. Next, we have our action buttons. So you have the ability to activate or inactivate one or many golfers from the roster view. So first, I'm going to select a golfer. I'm going to click Inactivate, and I'm then presented with an option. Do you wish to inactivate the golfer now or at a future date? I'm going to inactivate the golfer now. Click Submit, and I receive a confirmation message that that action has been processed. So here, if I change my filters, I can see that this golfer was inactivated. To activate a golfer, again, repeat the same action. So we'll select any golfers that we wish to update. Click the Activate button. You then have the option to activate them now or at a future date. So I'm going to activate these golfers at the start of the new year. Click the date field to activate the date picker. And I'll select January 1st, 2020, and click Submit to save that change. When we drill into the golfer profile, I'll then show you where that information is so you can edit it on a case-by-case basis or just view it going forward. Again, we're going to update our filters here. Next, we'll look at how you can change a membership type for one or many golfers from within the roster view. So I'm doing a roster cleanup. I see that some of these golfers have a V membership type, which I don't want to use anymore. So I'm going to select those golfers. You can just click them in the list, or again, use your filters to narrow down that population and select all. I'll click Change Membership Type, and we're going to reassign those golfers to a regular membership type. Click Submit, and you can see that their membership code within the roster has been updated. And here, if I'm going through my filters, I can see that there's no one that's assigned to that V membership code any longer. Any questions from the roster view before I drill into an individual golfer?
Yeah, so the email concern, do we want to address it? Do you want to address it now or at the end? Obviously, there's a lot of concern about people who are older, people who share an email address. Why are we doing this? We are putting more of a headache on the clubs than we just to collect email addresses. And I think we have a statement for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one is really going forward as we look to build out digital properties and everything like that. It is essential that we get an email address for golfers going forward. We understand that some of your population today may not have them, so that's why we are grandfathering in any existing golfers. But we do think it is best practice going forward to collect that for golfers. And I mean, typically that's the most common way of communicating these days. So we understand that a lot of you do have older members or people that simply don't wish to have an email address on the system. I think you can work with your associations to come up with creative workarounds in that case as needed. But it is something that we've put into the system, and we want to continue to put that best practice in place going forward to collect the email address. For anyone that doesn't have an email address,
as long as their record doesn't update, their name doesn't change, they can just continue to post at the kiosk.
Yes.
So as long as you don't edit their name or membership type or any of their profile data, they don't need an email address, and they can continue to post at your club's kiosk.
100%. Yes, so a Club Pro can post for them. They can post on the kiosk. But as we look towards the end of the year, they will not be able to access gin.com or the Gin mobile app.
Right. So we kept a route in place for the older membership because we know, obviously, if they are going to be using the mobile app, they have an email address because you can't nowadays get a smartphone without really having an email address. But you know, and same with a computer. You pretty much need a computer to load Windows on a computer. So we understand that we needed to still provide them with an outlet, and that's where the kiosk comes into place. And we will be having additional kiosk demonstrations, I think this week and next week.
Yes, there are several set up.
Yep.
Okay, so drilling into an individual golfer record. So from your roster view, you can simply find a golfer, double-click their name, and it will bring you into the golfer profile section. So just a few call-outs here. At the top of the page, you'll see the golfer's GIN number, and their email address. If you're viewing a golfer that's not yours, that information will be masked. Also, throughout the golfer profile section, you will see that we're continuously displaying their handicap index as well as their low handicap index and the effective date that will be made available on every page within this section. So we're going to start on the right, and we'll continue to work back from there. So just to call out, we have an audit log that will be made available for each golfer. This is really your replacement for edit messages, so it will show any changes made to that golfer's profile. Next, we're going to jump into the account section. So similar to what we saw under the club information section, by clicking on the golfer's account under the primary section, you can see at the top of the page, we show their basic contact information. As a club administrator, you have the ability to edit any of this information by clicking the edit hyperlink in the upper right-hand corner. Once you click edit, it will pull up the golfer's profile. In this case, I'm going to add a phone number for this golfer and click save to apply those changes. You can add up to 2 addresses for each golfer. So at the bottom of the page, we display the primary and secondary address. You can see that if there's an address added, there are 2 action buttons that are available to you. You can click edit if you need to modify anything for that address and click save to apply that change. Or if you need to delete an address, simply click the delete hyperlink. To add a new address, so in this case, my golfer just bought a house in Florida. We're adding a secondary address. He's going to be spending the winter there. So I'm going to add a secondary address. And he's going to be in Florida from December 1st through the end of April. I've added his residency start and end date. And on clicking save, you can see that that second address is created. And my residency dates for each address are automatically updated based on where I'm residing for each portion of the year. Any questions on the golfer's profile?
Yes, we had a question come in around under basic information. What is the is merged field representing?
Sure. So association and USGA staff have the ability to merge records. So if a golfer has 2 separate GIN records, but we confirm that it's the same individual, we have the ability to merge them. It will merge. It'll allow them to select their primary contact information and will merge scoring records. So this is just an indicator if the golfer was previously merged. So I guess a common use case would maybe be if they previously had a separate 9 and 18 hole scoring record.
Mm-hmm.
After migration, both of those are converted to an 18. We want to merge them into one record. It would then just designate once they are merged that this record was previously merged, and this would be the winning record going forward.
So if we just clarify, what is the purpose of the date ranges for the addresses?
So this is really just if someone's residing in 2 different places. So probably one of our more common use cases is a snowbird that's spending part of the year in the north and part of the year in the south. So it's really just a way for you to more effectively manage your dates. And if you needed to reach out to that golfer, you have their up-to-date contact information.
So as far as the merging process, and maybe specifically that use case you brought up where the golfer currently has an 18-hole GIN number and a 9-hole GIN number in the current system, is that something that'll happen automatically, or is that something that'll be manual?
That will be all manual. So it's going to be just a manual cleanup exercise as we, again, move people over from the current system.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as we start to expand and bring people in, so people who maybe previously were using Blue Golf and are now part of centralized computation, we'll start to see a lot of that cleanup start to happen across the board.
Right. So it won't be automatic, and it'll be a user-driven function.
It will be a user-driven function, and primarily because we want to stress the importance of verifying that it truly is the same individual, and you're not just merging two John Smiths. So
Right.
we'll walk you, when the association is merging, we put in front of them the contact information, the date of birth, any verifying details that they'll need to validate before performing that merge, just to minimize any missteps there.
Great.
All right, next we'll move into club memberships. So within the club memberships tab, it provides visibility into any club affiliations that that golfer has. So in this case, you can see that my golfer has 2 club memberships that are both active, and this provides really just a high-level view. If you maybe needed to see what other clubs your golfer is part of, maybe if you need to reach out for a handicap question, or if you saw a score was posted and you want a little bit more information, where available, we'll provide the club details here. Within this screen, there's the ability to designate a home club for oversight under WHS. So to designate a home club, you'd simply click any eligible club. If there was an inactive club membership, the box would be disabled here. Click Submit to apply the change, and you can see that that change was made. For any clubs that you have access to, so since I'm logged in as a test club administrator, you can see that I have this details option where I can view more details about that club membership, but I don't have access to Far Hills Country Club, so I don't have that details button to click. So I'm going to click on the details button. At the bottom of the screen, it just shows club level membership details. So these are profile attributes for the golfer that are related specifically to your club membership. So really just providing a high-level overview of the association, the club details, the membership code that's assigned, local number if one has been applied, and then all of your status dates. So date added to association, club, last status update date, and if there is a future activate or inactivate date applied. At the bottom of the screen, you have visibility into any golfer groups that golfer is a member of. As a club admin, you can also edit these details by clicking Edit in the upper right-hand corner. It pulls up an Edit Club Membership window. You then have the ability to change on an individual golfer level the membership code, their status, so if you wanted to activate or inactivate them, designate a home club, apply a local number, or on an individual basis, change their activate or inactivate date.
One question to come in as far as the club memberships, do you need to have a home club designation? Is it required?
You do need to have a home club designated under WHS. That will automatically be assigned as part of data migration based on active club memberships and frequency of play. It can be manually changed within the admin portal.
Doesn't hold any real functionality inside the application, but as far as the policies and procedures of WHS goes, a golfer needs to identify a club as a primary or home club in order for there to be a single club to really have handicap oversight.
That's a great question. Any others?
A question came in around local numbers. Will the system auto-assign a local number when adding a new member?
No, we do not auto-assign a local number, and it is not a mandatory field. So you can assign one if you wish. It's not something that's required on adding.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to just jump down briefly to email subscription management. So this is a new section that we've just added to the admin portal. It provides the ability for you to opt a golfer in or out of any marketing email campaigns. So when we launch, it's really just going to be the newsletter that you're all familiar with today. As we start to build out other types of email notifications, for instance, under WHS with daily revisions, we've thrown around the concept of being able to update the golfer when their index changes. As that functionality is introduced, you'll be able to manage those preferences individually for a golfer within this section. So if I needed to unsubscribe a golfer from the newsletter, I would simply click the edit link, click unsubscribe, or subscribed equals no, and then save to apply those changes. You can see that their subscription status was updated here. Just like any other email, the golfer can also unsubscribe by clicking the link at the end of the email template when they receive a notification.
Before you go to post a score, and I think we should spend a second talking about it. As far as the adding of golfers go, the question was around local numbers. If it sees that there's one that's already in use, do we prompt the user for that?
There is a duplicate check on local number.
And what happens if you add the golfer with do we have the same check in place if you add the golfer with the same name?
Yes. So you will be prompted if you add a golfer with the same name to the same club, just showing you it's a duplicate and asking you if you wish to proceed.
And then the question came in, will a club administrator be able to send an email through Gin?
So for launch, we will not have any additional email functionality for club admins. At the association level, they'll continue to be able to build and send newsletters from there. That is one of the areas that we've heard a lot of interest in. So we are exploring different options post-launch and seeing how we can further build out this product. And I would say if you have any feedback or thoughts around how we can build out this functionality, definitely relay them to your association so they make it to the USGA and we can consider that feedback in our roadmap going forward. But day one, that functionality will not be available.
And then another question around migration. If golfers have a local number, will they be migrated over to the new system?
Yes, the local number will be migrated across.
So here's a question around you touched on it briefly. As far as daily revisions go and sending out revision emails, do we plan to send them out every time someone gets a new handicap?
So for day one, golfers will continue to receive their newsletters based on your association schedule. So anyone that's sending it through this tool will be on the 1st and 15th, as you have today. We are working to build out post-launch a handicap index update notification. It will not send an email daily to every golfer, but if your handicap index does change because there were any modifications to your account or scores posted that day, those golfers would then receive a notification. Again, that's something that we're just starting to really spec out right now and we'll be building post-launch. So you'll hear more about that as it's made available.
And then another question here on the emails. Will clubs be able to put content into their emails, essentially, is the question.
So again, something that we're contemplating. We don't have a concrete plan on that one. It's something that we're continuing to spec out as we're getting closer to launch. So continue to send in that feedback. You can either message it in chat here or you can send it to your association to pass along to us so we can make sure that any of that's considered as we plan our roadmap and how we're going to continuously improve and build out the product in the future.
And just to clarify, all of the content that'll come through in those 1st and 15th emails will be content that your association provides.
Correct, yes.
That's exactly how it is now.
100%. So you'll see a different look and feel of the email template, but it's really going to be the same level of detail. All right, to jump into score posting. So on clicking the Post a Score tab, there are 2 different flows. The first one is hole-by-hole score posting. So if you're posting to a course that has stroke allocation data applied, You can simply select your score type, indicate the number of holes, either post to a home course, or in this case, I'm going to use the course and T search to look up a club, or a course rather. I've selected my course, I'm selecting a T, and then you can see the scorecard is generated below where you can go ahead and post your hole-by-hole score details. So as we're posting the score, it's adjusting the score based on net double bogey rules. You can see the adjusted score below. Once those details are entered, you can simply click Post a Score to post that score to the golfer's profile. You also have the option to post total scores. So under the Total Score tab, you can see, again, we have the option to select the date played, set your score type of home, away, competition, which was previously a tournament score, or a penalty score. Set the number of holes. So if you're posting for 18 or 9, if you're posting an 18-hole score, you have the ability to enter an individual score for the front and back 9, which will calculate the total 18, or just enter a total 18 value. As with the hole-by-hole score layout, first you have the option to choose your course and T lookup method. So if you're posting a home score, you can use the home courses that are set for your club. So here we'll select a course and T played, enter our total 18 value, and click Post a Score to post that score. You can see in the upper right-hand corner here that I received a confirmation message that that score was accurately posted. You also have the option, as we went through with the hole-by-hole score, to do a course and T search. So when posting an away score or a competition score, if you're doing a course and T lookup, first you'll enter your course played. This is actually a type ahead smart search feature. So as you start typing, you can see that a search is started, and it's going to narrow down my pick list results as I type. Once my course is selected, you can select the T and go ahead and post your score. While it's not recommended, we understand that there are cases where a golfer may play on a course or a tee that's not rated for various reasons. So there is an option for manual course entry, where you can key in the course name, score, course rating, and slope. Or if you know the course, but perhaps they have a temporary green or something, or the course is playing differently and that it's not rated, you can enter the details by clicking manual rating entry. You can also post penalty scores. So in this case, we're going to add an automatic penalty for an 18-hole score, and it's going to use the lowest of the 20 to post that. So I'll click Post Score. Again, I received that confirmation message in the upper right-hand corner that my score was successfully posted. We're going to jump over to score maintenance.
There's a few questions that came through. So when you were doing the hole-by-hole score posting, I think you had indicated that it was adjusting the score based on the net double bogey rule.
Correct, yes.
For max hole score. And here's a question that came in around posting scores where the score type is competition or penalty. Can that be restricted to a certain user group?
So day one, we do not have the ability to restrict that. That's another area that we've received a lot of feedback on, so the ability to provide more advanced permissioning. So it's something we're contemplating for the future, but day one, if you have full administrative access, you can post any type of score.
And then is there a limit to the number of home courses a club can have?
I do not believe there is a limit in place. So as long as they're configured, you can add multiple.
Yep.
And if you go to the kiosk setup presentation, you could also, they'll walk you through kind of how you can set up a kiosk for multiple home courses as well.
Yep. Will the hole-by-hole score posting be available in the mobile app for individuals?
Yes, whole-by-whole score posting is available on all of our GIN products, so Admin Portal, Kiosk, the mobile app, and GIN.com. I guess the one caveat there is just in order to use whole-by-whole score posting, stroke allocation data needs to be input for that individual course.
Yep, on par. And then the question came in, what's the difference between an old tournament score and a competition score? Essentially, in WHS, competition scores are, we took away, essentially, tournament scores used to be weighted differently in the USGA handicap system. As we transition to WHS, the weight of a tournament or competition score is weighed less. It's actually the same weight as any other score posted. And there are other controls in place in order to ensure that a golfer doesn't play, there's a concept of an exceptional score reduction, and that really replaces the old 10-3 or in the USGA handicap system. So, long answer to an easy question, there is there is a difference, but it's that the competition score now just indicates that it's a regular score that was played during a competition.
All right, so within the score maintenance tab, we'll cover the rest of the material quickly because I believe that we are over time. So score maintenance, again, as you've seen within the roster view, we have our filters at the top of the page, so you can better narrow down the scores and find what you're looking for more easily. So you have the ability to filter by course name, score types, days of the week played, date ranges. As with Golfer Roster, you can also export any of those scores to Excel. Below the filters, we have just our quick legends. So a star indicates the score was used in the current revision. If it was considered in the current revision, it's highlighted in yellow. If that score was previously edited, it will be designated with a blue ribbon icon. You'll be able to click that for previous score version history or details. Within the score grid itself, a few call-outs here. So you'll see that the new score types are introduced here. We have a legend for score types at the bottom of the screen, but under WHS, a few changes here. If the score is an exceptional score type, or an exceptional score rather, it will be designated with an E. Competition or tournament scores will be designated with a C. You'll continue to see home, away, and penalty scores as they're designated today. And any combined scores will be denoted with an N for a set of 9. Within the score grid itself, you'll see all of your score level details here. If you're viewing a golfer that is not yours, so if Joe was a guest at my club and I'm pulling him up just to post a score, you will see what we call a public view where you won't see day played or course name. With WHS, we've introduced a few additional columns to this view. So the first one is PCC. So if the score has any PCC or the playing conditions calculation applied to it, the adjustment will be shown here. We have a separate column for any exceptional score reductions that were applied and any committee adjustments that were applied to the score. To modify a score, you can simply click Edit on the right-hand side. All of our action buttons are displayed there, and you can edit the score in the manner in which it was entered. So if I entered whole-by-whole score details, I can edit the individual score level data that I entered. In this case, I entered a total score. If I want to make a modification, I can change that score and click Edit Score to apply those changes. So here you can see that this score was modified. By clicking on the blue ribbon, I can see those previous score versions. If maybe I enter a score accidentally twice, you can also delete the score. To delete a score, simply click the Delete Action button to the right. It will prompt you asking you if you wish to proceed with deleting that score, and then click Yes to proceed. At the bottom of the page is our 9-hole holding tank. So any 9-hole scores that are eligible for combination but have not yet been combined will be displayed for you here at the bottom of the page. Moving on to handicap management. So handicap management, again, we carry over the scores view in this grid with the same column layout. So this is just simply showing our revision scores, and those that were used in the calculation are designated with the star icon. At the bottom of the page, we have a brief snapshot of handicap index history, but really for a detailed view, you would need to access your reports. At the top of the page, there are various action buttons that you can conduct when managing the handicap index. So starting at the right, the first is the ability to run a special update for that golfer. To do so, simply click Special Update. You'll be presented with an option if you wish to proceed. Click Confirm to run the special update. So maybe if there's a score posted, you don't want to wait for the revision that night, you can execute a special update to automatically apply that to the handicap index. You have the option to withdraw an index by clicking Withdraw Handicap Index, setting an expiration date, and clicking Withdraw to proceed. You also have the ability to modify the handicap index as well as the low handicap index. So to walk through those flows, first clicking Modify Handicap Index, you have the option to set a handicap index or adjust the score differentials. So first we're going to adjust score differentials, 1 point downwards in this case. Since I already had a negative or a positive adjustment, it netted out to 0 here, but you can see that change applied in the adjustment column. And this allows you to really modify the index if you want to apply an adjustment but allow the golfer to play out of it. If perhaps your golfer is injured and you want to maybe modify the index upwards for a period of time, you can modify your handicap index, set an expiration date, and then click Save to apply that change. You also have the option to remove the modification, or if you want to also in turn modify the low handicap index upwards, you can modify the low as well. Are there any questions here before I jump into rapid score entry?
Yeah, we had a couple questions come in. So a question came in around the cost for a golfer to join WHS, and essentially that's a decision.
That is a club by club, association by association level. So it would be based off of your current gym subscription fees or anything that's applied going forward.
Yep. And then a question came in around two individual 9-hole scores being posted. How will they be paired? Will the system look to pair a front nine with a back nine? And the answer to that is they will be. It won't look to pair a front nine with a back line. It looks to post consecutive 9-hole scores together, combine 9-hole scores that have been posted consecutively. There is still the rule that if a 9-hole score falls outside of your most recent 20, meaning the date played, is outside the most recent 20, it's no longer available for combination. So that rule still applies. For the stroke allocation, is the association or club responsible for entering this information? Right now, it's the association. It's going to have, obviously, in conjunction with the club. So we're going through this exercise now of making sure that the associations have a place to input the allocation and that they have a opportunity to work with the club. For those of you who are using USGA tournament management, we're also looking at possibly importing that information from that application. So what are the reasons to use hole-by-hole scoring? And one of them certainly is it makes it easier for the member to calculate their net double bogey maximum score. But there's other value in capturing hole-by-hole scoring data. One being to redo your stroke indexes every couple of years to make sure that they're accurate, and then to report on them. Here's a question: is it possible to determine who made changes to an edit score?
So that one I actually just pulled into the score that we edited previously and pulled up that score version history, and you can see what user made that change.
Here's a question around: do competition scores stay in your history of the best 8 of 20, or will they stay in your history for an extended period? And the answer here is they're treated just like any other score now, competition score. So they will come in and out of your 20 just like any other score. Rapid score entry.
All right, we will touch briefly on rapid score entry. So just know that we are running a little bit over, but we will be making this recording available if anyone does need to jump. So just to talk through rapid score entry. So we've built out the rapid score entry flow to address 2 common use cases. The first is being able to efficiently enter multiple scores for many players. So if you had maybe a stack of scorecards following a tournament. And the second flow is the ability to efficiently enter many scores for one player. So if someone just got back from a golf trip and they have a stack of cards, they come up to you as a club pro to enter. So we'll talk through the many players flow. So within the top of both pages, this gray area is what we're going to call your setup area. This is where you're going to predefine any fields, and then they'll carry through for subsequent scores that you're posting. Below the setup area is your entry row. And really, you're going to just need to make any changes or post the individual score here. So within my setup section, I'm going to indicate that I want to post for a specific date. Again, this is a tournament here. I'm going to post using the GIN number as the player entry method. I just want to post total 18. This is an away score, and we're going to actually post, we're going to play at Pebble Beach. So I've used that type ahead course lookup to select the course, and then you'll have the option to set a men's and women's default tee. So I've set those values, and then I'll be able to start posting scores for my golfers. So first, I'm going to enter a GIN number to select a golfer. You can see this golfer is a male. It's pulled down my male default tee. And then I can simply enter a score and click enter or post score. It will automatically post it to the golfer's record. We are keeping a queue of scores at the bottom of the page. So if you accidentally fat-fingered one and need to delete it and re-add, or if you've accidentally entered a score twice, you can simply click delete to remove that score. I'll enter another score here. This is for a female. You can see that it pulled down the women's default tee. enter my value and click enter or post a score to post that score. Similarly to that flow, we also have the ability, as I mentioned, to post many scores for one player. This view is a little bit more simplified. So in the setup area, you'll be able to indicate the date. So again, have the option to post by a specific date, ascending or descending order. I'm going to use the GIN number for my method of entry. Once you enter a GIN number, it's going to pre-populate all of the details for that golfer. And then you can use the entry row just to start posting multiple scores. As I'm posting scores for that golfer, it will continue to carry across the data that's in the entry row to the next score that you're posting, unless it's changed. So in this case, I am posting front nine, back nine individually. Let me reselect my T's here. I can click post a score to post that score. You can see that it's holding that information until it is changed. And then once a change is made, you can update, post any additional scores here. And again, it holds any data that was previously saved in those fields for subsequent scores that are posted. Any questions on rapid score entry?
Yeah, a couple came in. I think we've heard this question a few times. Can you post a score by local number or name, or is it just GIN number?
Day one, it will be GIN number, but I will guarantee you that one is on the top of the list. I think I'll put some of the other items that we talked about earlier. This is probably one of the top 10 most commonly requested items.
Yep. And for the person asking for a friend, rounds should not be entered that were played via a simulator. So will the scores being entered indicate if it's a duplicate?
You will receive notifications when you're entering a duplicate score asking you, it will present it as a potential duplicate and ask you if you wish to proceed.
Yep. Oh, that's a good question. Can you do rapid score entry by golfer group?
As of right now, it is by individual player.
Okay. To my understanding, using more information for posting is preferred for a more accurate handicap. Yes, that's true. And that's why it's recommended by the USGA Handicap Department that a new golfer posts their scores hole by hole, so you have a better understanding of the handicap computation. And somebody is agreeing that we definitely need to have posting by name.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with posting by name is we just want to make sure that we build it out in the right manner. And if you're searching for a John Smith, you're not scrolling through tons of golfers. So we just need to really make sure that we optimize that experience to make it easier for you. Yep. And not introducing any pain points as part of it. So we're going to be introducing that post-launch and making sure we streamline as much as possible there.
Yeah. Because the purpose of this is for rapid score entry.
Exactly.
Yeah, good point. So you go ahead. Are we done?
Oh, yeah, we're finished with the demonstration, so if there's any questions.
Yep. So, okay, back to the handicap revision. How can I handicap trade on a specific date? For example, please Wednesday morning for Okay, so this question is in regards to, since we're doing daily revisions, there may be competitions that may want to be based on a specific date, and that's a really good point. So the system will, again, and now we're going to basically a tournament system, right? A tournament system or a printing system, maybe in this case, where you can identify a specific date and say on this date, what was a golfer's given or current handicap at that time. And both reporting will allow for that, as well as USGA Tournament Management will also have that functionality. So when you're running a league and you're going to play on Wednesdays, you want the Monday handicap, you're going to be able to do that.
All right, great. If there's no other questions, we will jump back to our PowerPoint.
And yes, USGA Tournament Management will still communicate with the portal.
That's a great question. So as we're going through questions, we'll put up the requisite question slide. If there's any other questions or feedback. And we want to continue to hear from you. So if you do have any questions or any feedback, please make sure you get that to your association. We'll be working closely with them to continue to gather that feedback. And it's really going to help us drive our product direction and inform our roadmap going forward. So we want to continue to gather your feedback, hear where you're having issues, where things could be made a little bit more clear. And we want to continue to improve and iterate on our product set. So please don't hesitate to reach out to your associations as you run into any roadblocks or have ideas on how we can further improve the product set.
Yeah, and again, we do get the email issue. So I think if you take this up with, if you get in touch with your association, we've had many discussions with them, and maybe they can provide you with a better explanation than what Ainsley and I right now are being able to provide you, but there's been detailed discussions on these.
Just to go through, we will make links available to your associations that they can extend to you if you wish to sign up for any other webinars. The other webinars that we are offering for clubs are kiosk setup and overview. So that will walk through your home course setup, how you can create and manage individual kiosks for your club. We will have sessions dedicated to launch prep. So really what you need to do to prepare to be successful day one as part of the cutover and launch of the new system. We've had a lot of questions that came up related to reports. There are going to be dedicated sessions that will take you through the reporting tab and how you can manage, schedule, and view any of the template reports. And we are offering, I believe, 4 other sessions where we'll go through the same information pertaining to admin portal. So if there's anyone on your staff that wasn't able to join today, we will have additional sessions. We'll also make these recordings available to you.
And the question is, how do they sign up for those webinars again?
So those links were made available to your associations. So I would contact them if you're interested in signing up for them and have not yet received the links.
So the question, one last question came in regarding integration with USGA Tournament Management, powered by Golf Genius. And the question is, yes, Tournament Management will still pull indexes. Again, it'll pull indexes either based on a given date or a the most current. Additionally, you'll be able to pull down your entire club roster like you can now. You can post scores. And we're also going to be looking at course integration. So we have a national course rating database. You guys are keeping, a lot of you keep your courses local on your USGA Tournament Management program. There will be a push to get those two in sync. So that anytime ratings are updated or PARs are updated or whatever is updated, it'll flow down to your tournament management application. To enter competition scores, will you need to manually adjust scores hole by hole? And the answer is no. it'll do it automatically for you.
All right, with that, thank you everyone for your time. Again, this recording will be made available to you. If you have any questions or any feedback, we definitely want to hear from you. Reach out to your association and we'll make sure that we're getting that feedback back here. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.